intending for this all to work out. But that means what? And then also there's a thing about really radical levels of judgment and levels of understanding that are cosmic. And what, in terms of the material version of that, yeah, we're going to destroy the civilization and crash the planet, and most of us are going to be suffering, and the ones that survive are not going to be having a great time. Whereas, if we got real about it, some of the best things that we have now, like a fantastic little resort in the islands with festivals and music and good food, all of us could be doing this at the same time as continuing to advance science. When we free up the education, now you do this by law. No, then you got bureaucrats pointing fingers and everybody checking out the regulations. You do it as a for profit. You do it in the free market, and the profit is the fact that you're securing these resources that you need as co-op owners of them. And I have two visions. One of them is it gets done by one corporation. They have to invite 16 other corporations to get to the level of complexity that does that all of modern society the way we like it in one little unit. That's the dream of 17 corporations I had in 1975. The level of complexity involved to do this as one single, uh, and I'm saying, yeah, we could be the new Starbucks of community. It's complicated. That's why we have AI now, though. We have AI exactly for this, for these things that can really fine tune what's available, and you start getting proactive. When it's a worker owned worker, the whole thing is wrong. Worker drone. We're humans. We're complete, sovereign co-op owners of our own resources. Is how it should work. And but the whole notion of ownership, well, yeah, now that's the only way to get it under somebody's focused, responsible intent. Otherwise, what? You're going to let everybody do whatever the hell they want, and then the government's supposed to regulate sanity. That's kind of what we got going on. We're letting the logic of working together be imposed from above by government. But meanwhile, all the resources are controlled by ventures that are free to backstab each other and lie as much as necessary, and whose ultimate purpose is just to make themselves rich. Okay? That logic has reached its end. And is it idealistic to think that we can now just like calmly, but with a certain level of like, hey man, we're at the edge of the cliff, but you know what? If we pulled our shit together, this could work. But we're going to need serious lawyers to hash out the contracts about how people work together. But this could be done as a for-profit, a free enterprise for the purpose of serving our own co-op community needs. And you say, are you leaving people out? No, we're inviting everybody in. When you come in, you take on some responsibilities and you get a bunch of benefits. The benefits are whatever we control as assets. And the second version of this that came in 2013, as I was coming back into getting involved after taking some time out, waiting for the rest of y'all to catch up to the urgency of this, was called A Gathering of the Tribe, War Footing, Gathering of the Tribes, War Footing. And it was 45 tribes came together in upper New York State as if we were the Iroquois, but much expanded. And it was all, white people, international tribes. But the tribe part meant we were organizations that respected community as our logic. And we came together and had a festival for 3 days. And hey, isn't it great? And then we got down to business, and the word came down from the elders, the Council of Elders, not the chiefs. Council of Elders, which included women. It might have been mostly even, but anyway, yeah, in the Iroquois Nation, it was the Council of Women that had final say. It could remove chiefs. Word was, hey, we need to go to war footing. And it was not against anyone in particular. It was not against anyone at all, in fact. It was war against the karma that had built up and the consequences. And that's a vision I'm not going to get into right now, except to point out that it took 18. What we decided is that it was going to take 18 frontline tribes to pull this together. So the same level of complexity, different projects that can be done proactively as I'm saying, for again, we don't have a term for this, for community building, grounding in resource, 18 different projects. Food has to be the number one, and it's the most disconnect, and it gives you a very short uh, version, a compact version of the whole uh, dynamics involved with mass marketing, selling you food that is like really appealing, and they're advertising it all the time. There's nothing. I think pharmaceuticals and then fast food would be number one, and who knows. But the point is, it's the easiest one where you don't need to go there. You could just make your own sandwich. You know what? And so then there's a lot of you could start a lot of local uh, alternatives to that, and the whole restaurant industry. Because there's two types of businesses we're looking at. It's the one that's gobbling up the planet and destroying the planet, and it grew out of the one that's seemingly more wholesome, that's more connected to a community. That's still the one that's more reachable with community-based logic because they still got it in them. All the regular businesses, as we thought things would work, and that's what you would get with a president is get a healthy kind of like old as how it used to be, the Adam Smith free market. That's not going to work anymore. We got to go past that, but we could still use that whole ground of how it works. It would still be a free market, but we're going to offer a more complex and more grounded product. Is all we're saying, and understanding that yeah, it's just doesn't make sense anymore to pile up some money and then have to try to buy things you don't know you can get because the whole large, the whole global transportation system is collapsing, and a lot of other things are no longer assured. And we can do it locally and grounded to security uh, when we bring it to a more integrated logic about here's what everybody needs. We don't need to individually package it, bring things in bulk. You have incentives for health care in front of, you have incentives for the community to help each other stay healthy. You have incentives to share resources and there's a really clear logic of community. But to make it happen, you just have to do it. And so now, from an activist point of view, there's two approaches that can be done, and a third one that needs to be conceived of more. And I've mentioned this many times before. The first one is more where most people want to go, which is like what each of us individually can do. Well, we can start networking with our own potential communities. But the big radical breakthrough is to bring it all together into a group project. And it's not politics, and it looks like business, but it's really not business. It's community building, and it's as if we're going to consciously build uh, an intelligent tribe and have all that. We have our own internal politics. And the laws right now, especially in America, favor protecting those kind of organizations. And the idea that you're going to be leaving people out, well, you know what? People need to show some initiative, but also we wouldn't be leaving. Once you had one of those working right, where let's say you have permaculture farms, which need a lot of hands on, and then you've got also housing available, and then you've got workshops where people can be making the things they need, like cups and clothing and other things. And then maybe you've got, I know it's possible to have modular, high tech factory thingies, because it's been talked about. It's just not profitable to the large scale ones right now. So as I say, that approach of doing it as a business at that level, and then eventually you talk to the large scale monopolists who control most of the resources and need to be on board with a collective solution, and so they don't lose what they built. This is not all these political solutions talking about and the idea of taxing the rich. It goes past taxing the rich. We got to get the rich thinking that they're going to use their assets working with us, not they're going to keep whatever it is we're letting them keep, as if they could like hide somewhere and not be part of the community. You get that logic, right? It goes past taxes. You don't have to tax what people are voluntarily putting into the safety net of the people. So I'm going back to that point that it's that where I had that dream and several others that run towards a volcano. Yeah, the worst what we're considering that's trashing the planet is the industrial, corporate, for-profit, free market, and that's where the solution is. However, in the same place, and the idea that you can be talking, that I can be talking to these suits, and they're going to respect me the way they expect to be respected. Get used to it, suits, because that's where we're headed. We're going to be on the edge of the cliff, and it doesn't matter who's wearing the tie. It matters who's making sense and what works. So you can get the logic of this is so simple, and there's so many ways for individuals to start building community, but that doesn't get to the resource base. To get to the resource base, you got to deal with resource companies, and things people really need. And there's different things you try to do. You simplify. You think, what is it that we really, really need? Do that on a personal level when you start running out of money. Right now, I got cheese, kefir, hummus,